realize, for those of you who live here, you know where it is. It's not a very easy journey from where I live in Portland to this particular venue. But I'm happy to be here, and yes, I'm going to read. I think I'll start because I'm still very excited. Can you still hear me? About a book I just signed a contract for yesterday. So I'm pretty excited. It's a book actually about Ireland, away from Bangalore, India. But I'm going to read one poem from that collection. And I think all of you probably heard about, in Ireland especially, how people will be going by a graveyard or something, and there'll be a statue of the Virgin Mary, and maybe the statue waves or turns her head. And pretty soon the world has arrived to hope it'll happen again. And this is called a Clare story, County Clare, where I stay a lot, I write about it a lot. And anyway, this is kind of the story. Our Lady of the Telephone Booth, Bridget, by the roadside out of Lahinch, up the incline towards the cliffs, just before O'Brien's monument and the pub. The parade of cars coming up the hill, endless, all the way up the coast from Milltown. Don't you see? As I drove up the grade, half awake and missing my tea, she turned and winked from the glass enclosure. Had I blinked, I would have missed it. I couldn't believe what I'd seen. It rattled me. A drink was what I needed. I pulled into the near pub, had to tell a publican, who gave me a look and went straight for the phone. This is a statue of Bridget, and there's a holy well there nearby, but it's in a kind of a plexiglass thing. It looks for all of it like a telephone kiosk. So we always called her, at least for the past 40 years or so, Our Lady of the Telephone Booth. Going to start now with the poem from India, and the first poem is called Namaste, which unfortunately has become kind of a buzzword. It's really kind of a wonderful expression, but now you see it on bumper stickers and all kinds of places. Well, Namaste has roughly at least a couple of meanings, one of which is, I recognize the spirituality in you, which is quite wonderful. It doesn't sound like a bumper sticker. It's repeatedly what Gandhi said to his assassin as he died. Okay? But I should also say, I can say this. This is the first word in Hindi I ever learned, and I learned it about 1962 or so. I met a senator from India, and somebody told me how to say hello to him when I met him, and so I wrote Namaste. Namaste, for Asha, who suggested it. These few short weeks, we braid our lives together as we commune with poetry, music, chapati, dal, and chai. Excuse me. All of a sudden. As we travel to the jungle lodge on the Kabini River, joyous music pulls us from our seats, puts us to dancing in the aisles of the bus, to raucous singing, clapping as we bounce over speed bumps through Mysore, Chanapatra, and Madhur. On the journey to Goa and back, we share the haunting melancholy and at times joyous songs, and take strains of Indian music we keep with us always. We have a language in common, though our English must seem flavorless compared to yours, spiced with Hindi, Kannada, Tamil. We wonder how friendship we leave you can ever equal what we take away. The flavor of South India, the curry, cardamom, tamarind, yet on our tongues. Excuse me, for some reason I'm not getting started. I will. Well, I hate to say, I was in India, I'm sorry, I was in India for a month, and I like to think that every day I saw something marvelous. And I think I really did. Where a ditch has been opened in the earth, a standing black plastic bag, small bare feet beneath it, then movement, a child at play. Blind inside her plastic garb, she drifts to within inches of the precipice. Her sari-clad mother in the ditch itself scrapes red dirt into a shallow copper bowl, offers it up, a sacrifice to the sun. Yeah, if you went in India, you begin to get a whole different story of what professions are. In this country, people who do like bricklaying and cement mixing are usually men. In India, quite often, they're not. They're women. And that was one of the first one I saw. Another thing, this one is called Mad Walking Cow, and I've forgotten the exact festival, but there is a time in India when you decorate the thing that you get your livelihood from. And it's really quite marvelous to see these huge Tata trucks with so many flowers around the windshield that you wonder how the driver can see out to drive. And it could be a truck, it could be a cow, and in this particular poem, it's cow. Cows loom large. Man walking cow. He has saved her from 4 lanes of traffic on the inner ring road in Bangaluru, brushed her black coat to a sheen, and dressed her up from the tip of curved upward horns she could hook the yellow moon with to her well-trimmed hooves that are the nails of a princess. Wrapped her in blood, red and green yarn, elegant silk saris, and bleeding madras. He leads her like a He leads her like a drunken bride to the posher neighborhoods, showing her the quieter worlds, to humbly honor her, his means of livelihood, or simply to shame those who look down on him and his cow from higher windows. This next poem, I couldn't resist. I was walking by this place. It's called Mother Earth. It's a shop that sells all kinds of gugas and chotskis in Bangalore, India. And I got a paper bag from the store. I think I bought something. And so that's where the poem begins. Poem written on a shopping bag from Mother Earth. If I lived here, I could ignore the man with his back to the world, peeing against a wall that please every 25 feet. Please do not urinate here. My next door neighbor would live in a vacant lot under a lean-to made from refrigerator crates, odd bits of tin sheeting, palm fronds somehow stuck to the wall, a cave whose closing door is a hanging old woolen blanket. If it's Friday, my wife will be kneeling, scrubbing her laundry in cold water on a soapy wet stone. I would be quiet as I had my morning chai on the terrace so as not to disturb those who sleep out on top of the next building. In this neighborhood, I watched the colony waiting as their plastic containers fill up the yellow community water tank that looks like a huge oil drum on end. I don't live here, but my heart does. 8,000 miles away, and 8 decades ago, I see a boy walking from the village water pump with 2 pails, still feel the veils cutting into my palms. My mother washing clothes in the tub, scraping her knuckles raw on the corrugated zinc washboard. Hear the whisk of the straw broom as she sweeps clean every morning the packed dirt at the front door. I still breathe the dust from that strip of brown earth. And I mentioned this a little earlier about which sex does the work and which doesn't, and what you would expect and what you don't expect. And this is called a Bangaluru hod carrier. And if you don't know it, a hod carrier is a person who carries the mortar that's used to put bricks together. They also carry the bricks in a thing called the hod, which is a kind of funny device. Bangaluru hod carrier. In a bright red sari, she walks to the sand pile, fills her hod, the ubiquitous shallow dome-shaped bowl, balances it perfectly on her head, walks poised like a model to an angled wire screen through which she tosses sand, sifting it clean the way at home she sifts wheat flour for lumps or weevils. She glances at the screen. Nothing is caught on the wire. The clean sand is a growing pile she mixes with mortar on the sidewalk. She works cement into the sand with a short hoe with the same diligence and grace she uses when she makes dough for chapatis in her kitchen. I'm sorry. Throat.
Do you need a cup of water or something?
I would like to have some water. Thank you. That would be great. I don't know. Funny thing about this kind of weather we've been having. Around Thanksgiving, I started catching a cough, and I thought I got past it, and then it sort of came back, and then about 1st of January, I still had it. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Oh yeah, everybody's got that cough. There's nothing I can do for you." So that cough is gone, but every time I sort of get dry, I think, "Oh no, it's coming back." And for some reason also, the weather nowadays, my throat seems to be dry a lot. That's not usually the case. Okay?
So is India your favorite country?
What is my favorite country?
Is India your favorite
Well,
country?
you know, I have to be careful. Thank you. I have to be careful when I say that because, of course, the place dearest to my heart is Ireland. And if you listen to some of the poems in this book, Ireland pops up. And I was telling Danielle earlier that I don't write, all my books aren't about Ireland, but there's always a bit of Ireland in every book I write. So when I went to India, I said, you know, I used to say that the friendliest people in the world were the Irish, but I'm not so sure. The people in India were marvelous, and the food was marvelous, and the children were marvelous. And if you sort of don't look closely at the sort of crushing poverty, it's a wonderful place. The people are wonderful, and I found that, you know, to be the case in almost every case, except for an occasional rickshaw driver who was kind of surly because I didn't speak Kannada and he didn't speak English. Like that. Oh, thank you for that.
So how did the communication go between what he didn't understand and you didn't?
A lot of gesturing, I think, for us. But you see, most of the people in India speak English. I mean, they're educated in English, but there are also like 40 or 50 other languages that people speak. And usually the rickshaw drivers speak Kannada, which is, I don't know what that is. I mean, Hindi, I know a couple words, but that, I don't know. And they all seem to speak that language. So if you If you don't speak Kannada, you just hope that you give me right on a piece of paper what you want. And in my case, I wrote on I gave a business card that had the address of my hotel, and the guy shook his head, said, "That's not an address." He couldn't find a place. But that's typical in Bangalore. It's like a city that's at once growing, spreading, and caving in the middle. So everything looks like it's half finished or falling apart. Kite flyers along the inner ring road. Every morning I walk this way on my way to get a cup of chai. The vacant lot to my left is empty, except for piles of construction debris, or sometimes a cow or two grazing, but this morning, as if by magic, there is something new and marvelous here. Two boys behind a concrete wall are trying to launch a new handmade kite. One stands on a pile of broken blocks holding the ball string. The other, 40 feet away, holds a diamond, an old newspaper stretched on the silver of a cross. I watch them, hoping, though their efforts seem futile. The wind is light, their knowledge of aeronautics slight. Behind me, the cop on the beat, in his brown uniform and beret, who lives nearby, stops, observes me, vaguely interested for a minute or two, then continues. He's going through his pockets as though searching a suspect, still trying to scrape up 7 rupees for a small plastic cup of sweet chai. As he walks toward a group of men gathered under the blue plastic tarp. He's not having any luck, nor are the boys. I want to go through the gate into the lot, offer my technical advice, tell them their kite needs a tail to stabilize it before it can fly. I'd offer to help the cop find a few coins for his chai, but though he lives in a hovel, he wears a uniform, has his pride, and is not about to be caught taking a handout that looks like a bribe. From the corner, I can't resist. I look back. The kite rides the breeze above the wall. The cop stands. Steam rises from this milky, sweet chai under the blue tarp of morning. That's kind of being very good, because bribes are like, that's the way of life in India, in some of the cities. On a trip to the Kapini River Jungle Lodge, we were driving out to nowhere because there are no no road signs or no real indication. You just have to kind of know where you're going, I guess. And we weren't driving. We had a driver, but he didn't know where he was going either. So this is what we found out in the middle of nowhere. Midnight gamblers. I'm awake in the back seat. The others are asleep, except the driver and Santosh riding shotgun as we travel along ruts and over potholes of a dirt track connecting midnight villages. We're not sure if we turned right when we should have turned left at the last village. We have no road signs to direct us. Somewhere between Bangalore and Moongod, in the moonless night, we spot a light up ahead. We pull up to the mysterious scene. Suddenly, there are white skull caps glowing in the light, men hunkered in a circle around a lantern. We stop. Our arrival doesn't distract them. None of the men looks up. We wait. Santosh finally asks if we are on the right road. One face turns, nods side to side, Karnataka fashion, and turns back to the circle. Clutched in their fists, pale carmine rupees fanned out like the tail feathers of a kite, were white skull caps by lantern light in the miles of darkness, nothing more sinister than men gambling after a Muslim wedding. I fall asleep behind me, giant papery carmine moths, along with other suicidal insects, crash against the only light for miles. Some of you may know this, but in some parts of the world, cotton is still picked by hand. And if you've never had any experience with it, it's murder on your cuticles, kills your fingers. That little ball that's around is as hard as a rock. It will tear your fingers to pieces. But here in this country, in the southeast United States, in the south, all that cotton picking is done by a machine now. So, before Champiet-Coronado got NH4, sundown, people still picking cotton, though the crescent moon was starting to rise. Some walking away from the fields, cotton bags balanced on their heads, men in their bullock carts fighting the current of the traffic's river. On one such cart, a man and his family pile atop sacks of cotton, leave the fields to darkness. As it begins to rain, I hope for three things: that those families remaining in the fields can abandon their labor, that rain will make their cotton weigh more, that before night catches them out, they will arrive home safely. I say this because of what I know. Cotton weighs nothing, gains the picker only bleeding cuticles. Cotton poles did not tear my fingers in India, but wherever and whatever I picked in childhood blistered and stained them, a stinging abetted by a taskmaster who never let us quit until the last dog died, or until the sun was dead and gone, and the moon's sick light could not distinguish green from right. In the same vein, thread count. People who shop for sheets and bedding know what that's all about. You know, the cost of the sheet, the bedding is proportionate to how many threads there are per inch, or something crazy like that. Nothing I don't know much about. Thread count. How many threads per square inch in the white sheets she's going to sleep on? The woman ahead of me at the bedding shop wants to know. The clerk won't be able to answer when I ask him how many brown fingers have those white threads gone through before arriving here. How many lives do these threads reach back to? What happened to the drops of blood from cuticles torn by cotton bolls in the fields of India, Egypt? Elephants are marvelous. You all know that. You've seen them at the zoo, but I was talking earlier about when you decorate the thing that gives you your livelihood. To see an elephant decorated, usually they do it with chalk, and chalk, flowers, and you know, these elephants are amazing. And talking a little bit earlier with Danielle about how poems come to be. We're just in Goa, and people are shopping. I think my wife was looking for a pair of sandals, and somebody else just looking at these tchotchkes and stuff in the shop. And of course, Mr. Poet, I'm looking down the street, and here comes this huge elephant with two teak-walks, walking along like that. That's what I saw, and nobody else in our group, there were about 12 of us, saw this elephant at all. He could have been invisible, but the traffic got out of the way for him. And this is all part of coming on. We had the week before been to the Kabini Jungle Lodge and seen wild elephants, and there's nothing quite as marvelous as seeing an elephant rip the top out of a tree and eat it. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, the other thing is that in this preserve where all these elephants are. A few months before we'd been there, they just decided, let's go out of town, guys. So they went crashing into Mysore and just tore up houses and shacks and shops. And I don't know if they killed anybody, but they just raised holy hell and then went back to the jungle. So what I like to say is that even in this huge animal, in a little brain somewhere, there's still a drop of wildness, and every once in a while it comes out. Goa street scene. You look for sandals in a shop along 18th June Road in Punjin. I watched the street. A bull elephant saddled with 2 teak logs holds almost as much sway as sacred cows as it plows through the afternoon traffic. Leg irons clanking. I imagine the rainbow chalk dust from last week's Ayutthaya Puja festival. Trappings from the times when he transported Rajas to the palace. But in his baleful eye, in his slendering drum-beat heart, he runs amok with wild elephants, rampages through shops like these. I actually, I'm not going to read it, but I have a poem. About 30 years ago, I was up in Ellensburg, Washington, and a fellow was at a party, and they had a umbrella stand made out of an elephant leg. Okay? So I got in my head later on, the poet, that somewhere in India and other places there may be elephants running around on 3 legs. And I like to think that when I was in India, I was kind of looking for one of these creatures. I never saw one. I'm not going to read that one. This is called fennel seeds, and there's a wonderful custom they have in India of if you buy something, you have a cup of chai, whatever, and you put your money, pay for it in a little tray, and they take it and they give you change back, hoping you count out a few rupees for a tip. But then they bring the, when you finally pay, they bring the tray back with fennel seeds on it, and you chew those, and they're supposed to be good for your digestion and sweeten your breath. But it's a custom, and it's a nice custom. Fennel seeds. The waiter brings a slip of white paper on a small saucer. I put onto it money enough to pay for the cup of chai. He returns with my change on the small saucer. I pick through coins, leave 1 or 2 rupees. He takes the plate, soon returns it, this time with a small mound of fennel seeds. Walking away, I chew, reflecting on what just transpired. Steaming, sweet, milky chai wakes my senses. I hope the chewing brings an answer to why we have so much and they so little. Or is it the other way around?
Good to be back. My first poem is essentially a response to a major current event I'm sure all of you have been following. The kind of a tangential response to the school shootings in Florida. I think one of the things we think about every time this happens is what a senseless waste of life, and another thing that comes to me, although it didn't happen this time, is so often the young shooters shoot themselves in the long run. And a lot of times I think that's almost the goal of the exercise is to call attention to their pain and in some way to end their pain. And that brings us to the idea, to the realization that suicide is becoming an epidemic in our country, especially among young people. And that brings me to a memory of a young man that I knew in the 80s, and he came to my mind when all of this was happening this last week, and I wrote this for him. It's called Suicide Watch. Who can tell what brilliant blossom you might have become if the tight bud of your promise could have known the full warmth of the sun? Every amateur gardener with the palest green thumb mourns your loss and wonders why you chose to die. Most master horticulturalists accept, perforce, that some sprouts will always be lost to premature frost. Either way, there is no going back now, sun or rain. All that is certain is your pain lives on in those who loved you, just as each year the fall leaves cluster on your grave. And a little more upbeat, I hope. This one is called A Fish Out of Water, or an out-of-season migration, and I'll let it speak for itself. Winter seems a strange time for a new year to begin. As I change the calendar to mark another annum, Mother Nature goes to sleep. Not me. I may have retired, but I am not yet drowsy. So when the Christmas lights are put away, I leave the cracked brown Southern California foothills where I summer and return to my roots in the Pacific Northwest, like a Chinook salmon swimming upstream to the spawning ground of its youth. But I didn't come home to die. I am renewed as a brief flurry of snow cocoons me in its dry embrace before the winter rains come to nourish my parched skin. The pure air fills my thirsty lungs. The cool mist soothes my spirit. My heart stirs with hope as I revel in the fresh and the familiar all at once. And I realize again that winter is a fine time for a new year to begin.
On third Wednesdays, I host open mic at Paper Tiger Coffee Roasters. That's the next one will be the 21st of March. I have Mark Morgan as my feature. He's a musician. I have a reputation for reading humorous poems, but I'm going to read two serious ones and then a humorous one. This first one is called In Front of the Statue. In front of the statue is a sign. There are no words on the sign. There is no life on the face of the statue. There's only the fleeting fame of yesterday. Today, two pigeons poop on the word sign. It is the statue's legacy of fleeting fame. Tomorrow, there will be a new statue. But today, yesterday hangs on the lips, hangs on the face of the dead statue. A statue that would rather forget yesterday. Yes, in front of the statue is a sign. There are no words on the sign. Yesterday the sign had words saying, "Here stands the biggest mistake of my life." But today the statue is a day late and a dollar short. In front of the statue is a sign. There are no words on the sign. Do I hear the statue weeping by itself? And this addresses one of the problems we have lately in the park. In the park, there is a bench where a person feeds pigeons. This person is as homeless as the pigeons she feeds. Often wondered, are the pigeons feeding her, or is her home one with the pigeons? One thing is certain, the food is homeless. Isn't it often said, home is where the heart is? Maybe I should have started this poem with, in the home. Now the funny one. Fishing for words. The art of herring is listening with a cod ear and fishing for gossip. A while ago you slipped on a slippery banana eel, and I laughed so shad my shark was reared aloft. You caught me hook, line, and sinker, Wait until I haddock my voice back and can stop being a seahorse long enough for me to sing you a choral or two with the one that got away. Thank you.
So this one is called Bachelor Meal. The bacon and the bread are both inspected, and any bits with fungus on rejected. The uninfested pieces are then fried and served with button mushrooms on the side. And I'll just give you one more from that. And then, okay, this is called Loneliness Bridge. If you stand at the tip of the island with the river pouring by and the city rollicking either side until it becomes the sky, when the pick of the buildings are floodlit and the purple horizon is dry, if you count the bridges one by one, you'll possibly catch my eye. And the first bridge down is the Chain Bridge, geometrical and clean. And the second bridge down is Elizabeth Bridge, named after the beautiful Queen. And the third bridge down is the Freedom Bridge, with its girders painted green. But the fourth bridge down is Loneliness Bridge, and that's where I'm frequently seen. If you're breakfasting at the Angelica, with the river funneling past, its memoried water like elephant skin, its optimist fishers miscast, and the Fabergé egg of the Parliament, a messageless radio mast, a signal of love might reach me yet, before I gulp my last. And the first bridge down is the Chain Bridge, mechanical and neat. And the second bridge down is Elizabeth Bridge, her petticoats lapping her feet. And the third bridge down is the Freedom Bridge, and I hope you'll be free, my sweet, because the fourth bridge down is Loneliness Bridge. That's where I suggest that you meet. Thanks.
The leaves flying for a moment, after a featherless frisbee, past a couple cooing to each other under a willow, amid the cackle of teenage girls drifting in from the local high school, while the lady, long and thin, now perched on a bench, opens a book, extends her neck, motionless as she peers into the busy surface of a page.